I feel like one of the stronger arguments in favor of Senate Constitutional Amendment 1 is that if the legislature, if the people of the state of California want a more pedestrian university, they should be able to have that. And if Governor Brown wants to pursue that,
do you really believe that?
He should be able to do that.
Do you think?
But I think this is an argument that's worth considering in terms of making sure that public universities remain public and that we don't continue to veer off in this private direction. And so, for me, it's they can replace Governor Brown,
government.
but they can't replace you, or they can't replace, the public can't vote out Janet Napolitano, and they can't vote out you, but they can vote out Governor Brown.
So you think the chancellor should run for office?
Well, I'm not saying that he should have to run for office, but although if you want to run for office and have that political experience, you can.
No, I think I'm just having enough political experiences right now. Thank you very much. No, look, I feel very strongly about this. You're absolutely right. But here are a couple of things that I need to put at the forefront of my response. The first one is, however much support is being provided by the state, it's being provided for the establishment of what was to be a superb university system. And the truth of the matter is that you can't have a great university without a governance structure that allows academic issues to be at the forefront of how the university is organized, how resources are allocated. And indeed, there is no example of a university that has been established and run by a group of politicians who are neither experts nor for that matter, fully engaged in the issues of the university. It's just, they have a lot of things to do, and they're being elected for a lot of different things. Now, you could say right now that with the current constitutional arrangement, we already have a good deal of governmental participation in the affairs of the university. The budget comes from the governor and the state legislature. So it's not like the state doesn't have a huge amount of power over the university. They've exercised that power lately by cutting our funding, and the less funding that the state has given, the more the politicians have been talking about regulating the universities. So let us be clear, there's an irony here. It'd be one thing if we had 80% of our funding coming from the state. But even when much greater levels of funding were coming from the state, this university became great in part because of the governance structure that was set up, that protected and provided insulation from the kinds of political issues that I think would be hugely damaging to the way in which we have to make decisions about, about hiring faculty, about admitting students, about engaging in a range of activities, including even the fulfillment of our pledge to have a public mission. Now let's also talk about the nomenclature in the questions that you're asking. What does the public mean? Are we a 12% public university now that we only have 12% state funding? And what does it mean to differentiate public and perhaps state? I think there is a commitment that is very deep in this university, that even if we were like Colorado, University of Colorado, 3% funded by the state, the University of California, and Berkeley in particular, would be deeply committed to a public mission.
But aren't universities also committed to a public mission of sorts?
Sure,
I mean, you can certainly make that argument. Stanford does a lot of work
they do.
That benefits the public. So
they absolutely do.
How do we differentiate ourselves?
Do an analysis of Berkeley and Stanford and look at how many people here lead with that as the way in which they articulate the importance of their research or the reason that they're here in this university. But you're right. I'm not actually making a hard and fast distinction there between some private universities and this public university. But again, the question of what makes us public is no longer the funding that we get. What makes us public is our mission. And I think that, in fact, is going to be enabled by increasingly, let me back up. In order for that public mission to be fulfilled, we need to have resources. And we're going to have more and more private resources in order precisely to realize our public mission. Now, does that sound like a contradiction? Perhaps. But that is the way in which this university has been working over the last 10, 15 years. So I don't think it's anything new.
Okay.
In any, just to give you an example,
Sure.
the student body is much more representative of the people of this state now
Sure.
than it was 40 years ago when it was much more funded by the state.
That's true.